weekly. It's once again me and Kaye. How you doing, Kaye?
I'm doing great. Happy Memorial Day to everybody, or the happy Memorial Weekend to everybody in the US.
Yes, absolutely. It's going to be a short week next week, of course. 4 day a week. We've got tomorrow off. Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah, Monday is basically a holiday here, so stock market is closed. I'm pretty sure there's going to be a lot of news that's going to pile up going from Sunday to Monday, and I'm pretty sure all of us are eager for the markets to open on Tuesday.
Yeah, definitely. We've already had a bit of news over the weekend, haven't we, with, around the kind of war, etc. So it's interesting to see what's going to happen now on the market open on Tuesday. Yeah, make sure you put your stock requests in the comments below. We've had a few already come in, which we'll go over in just a second. Massive thank you to Wolf as well for letting us use the platform. We really, really appreciate it. And of course, we're just a couple of guys looking at charts, having a bit of fun on the internet. So obviously, this is not financial advice.
Sean, do you
Yes.
mind actually giving me the ones? I don't see it on my side of the
Of
chat.
course, I'll stick it on the screen for you. It's Money Managed once again with
Yeah.
SoFi, Snow, and Net.
Okay. So far, snow in it.
Um, but yeah, with that, how's your trading been this week? This last week?
I think trading has been pretty decent, I would say. Trading has
Good.
been decent. We entered. I closed some of my positions. IREN was a nice trade in, especially from an option selling standpoint. We had the 50 put open, and that we ended up closing those out for full profit. And I think the other one was Microsoft. I know you're going to cover that. So interestingly, I talked about it last week. We did not take any trades on Nvidia because it's always the stock always runs before the earnings, and that's exactly what happened. And it was a pretty muted reaction, 5-6% here and there down. Um, but there's a lot of
Yeah, it's
but there's a lot of conversations around what do you call the memory side, Micron, and then you have this ETF called DRAM. So I'm seeing a lot of posts around folks pumping those. All I'll say is this: like, if you were not in Micron, you have missed this run. Don't chase.
no, any stocks that's kind of gone up, 50 to 100%, it's going to be hard to chase that. But yeah, no, we'll move on to the slideshow then. We've got an interesting layout today, of course, as normal. We've got a market overview, fear ingredient index, earnings preview, the SPY weekly chart, which we do like to cover, and the yearly performance between me and Kaye. Our picks of the week are going to be Microsoft for me and IREN for Kaye. Interested to get into them a little bit later on. I wouldn't be surprised if NVIDIA actually becomes one of the audience requests. So obviously make sure you get them in nice and soon. And we'll move on to the next slide, which is the market overview for last week. Yeah, a bit of a mixed one, really. We've got Nvidia down, like as you mentioned, down 6% there. Google and Meta down in the red as well, but not too bad. Likewise, just above your head, we've got Tesla down almost 2%. But the green ones for the week, we've got Apple up 3%, Microsoft up 1%, and Amazon just above 1% as well. We've also got AMD and Intel worth noting down there in the bottom left there, respectively up almost 10% and just over 9%. So it's been an interesting week, a bit of a mixed week. It has felt like that when I've done a bit of day trading here and there. It's been successful. It's been a good week. I didn't trade too much, to be fair. But what I did do was just stay patient and manage my risk as accordingly. Any final notes here on this particular slide, okay?
No, I think you pretty much covered it very well.
Awesome. We'll move on to the next one then, which is the fear ingredient index, which is always fun to kind of have a look at. Still sitting in greed. Last week when we were on the show, it was 63. We've dropped down 4 points down to 59. Do you want to talk to the left side of the screen there, Kay?
Yeah, absolutely. So put to call is pretty much the same. We were 0.63 last week, so barely we got a little bit bearish, becoming 0.66. It's a nothing burger there. VIX continues to fall. We were at 18 point something, 18.5, 18.6, and now we are 16.7. So it has definitely gone down. Now, again, interesting to see how the US Iran ceasefire and negotiations they proceed today going into tomorrow, because that is definitely going to have a direct impact on the VIX itself. Again, SPY was pretty flat, 1%. You can look at it. Same with QQQ. So nothing much going on that front. All the big names in the earnings have been reported. I believe so far all the companies that have reported have, I think 100% of them have beaten their top line and bottom line. think that was one of the statistics I saw. I could be wrong here. Don't quote me. And then I think 76% of the companies that reported earnings showed year-over-year growth. So pretty decent performance from the full basket of the companies. And then again, we talked about the markets being closed tomorrow, so no trading, unfortunately. Core PCE and jobless numbers are going to come out on 5/28, excuse me. And I don't expect these to be the main driver for the week. I'll be very honest. I think the main driver for the week could be the US Iran
It's
negotiation.
got to be the news, isn't it? Yeah, it's got to be the news for
The
sure.
core PCE jobless numbers. And by the way, I don't know if you saw, Jerome Powell is officially has stepped down, right? So we had the new Fed chair sworn in. I forget, was it Friday or Saturday? One of those days. They sworn
Friday, I believe. Yeah,
Friday. Yeah.
Friday.
So yeah, so we have the new Fed chair, and it's going to be very interesting because depending upon his uh, direction, we may see the markets stopping and assessing the direction, and that could lead to those pullbacks that we have been, anticipating. Now again, nobody can predict when it's going to happen, but generally the Fed chair changing, midterm election, a lot of these things are playing out, accordingly. So we'll see.
Yeah, it's always having a word of caution at these high elevated levels within the market, whether it be SPY, QQQ, the Dow Jones. But yeah, just having these kind of all-time highs kind of hitting what seems to be every single day. It's always having a little bit of caution there. We'll move on to the next slide then, which will be the earnings for the week. We're coming to the end of the season now, as we all know. A few names that I'm looking at here is obviously Snowflake, because I did end a position that I entered last week, which we did speak about on the show. And I think UiPath as well will be of an interest. I don't follow them too closely, but I know they're quite a heavily followed stock within the markets. And there's a few names on here which I think I know that you're looking at. So do you want to point those out for people, Kay?
Yeah, so the first one, I think Zscaler is going to be very interesting, especially if you are into this whole AI infrastructure play. You need to remember that the next leg after the memory, there are all these different layers, and one of the layers would be the cybersecurity stock. So Zscaler on Monday, you have Thursday, you have the Sentinel one, you have Okta. Those Okta I'm watching very specifically because I do have a position in Okta, and I do want to unwind that position at some point in time.
Still.
Yeah, that's the unfortunate part. So I'm stuck in that position, and I do want to unwind
Yeah.
it, but I don't want to unwind at in loss. I'm not. It's not that down, but again, it's not. Anyway, so going back again, I think watching some of these, Marvell is reporting earnings on Wednesday. I'm just going back and forth a little bit here. Snowflake you touched upon. You also have let me see. You, on Thursday, going back to Dell. Dell is an important player actually because Dell recently also had sort of tie-ups with Nvidia, so a lot of eyes will be on Dell as well. You do have, I think, MongoDB. Yes, MongoDB is right there. Is also reporting earnings. Salesforce and Snowflake. So a lot of these SaaS companies are reporting earnings,
Yeah.
and all I want to see from the SaaS names is what is their guidance in terms of and the reaction from the market if the narrative has started to shift, because most likely they are going to beat their top and bottom line. That's I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about their guidance that they are going to.
Guidance. Yeah.
And if the market reaction shows me the signal that the sentiment is changing on the SaaS names, and if it's not changing, then hold. But if it starts to change, that could be an area which you could start to benefit or take advantage of if you miss some of these previous run ups.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that because obviously in the last couple of weeks we have seen a bit of a push up into SaaS stocks, which has been nice. But obviously this week it's going to be a big week for those particular names and see if we can get that narrative, as you say, on the right track for future price action and obviously the investors that are involved. But yeah, no, it'll be definitely an interesting week coming up. We'll definitely look forward to that. I'm sure you'll be following it closely. I'm sure you'll have a few comments on X as well for people to have a look at. So make sure you follow at InvestK, which you can see pretty much just in this little box there on the screen. We'll move on then to the first chart of the night, which is the SPY weekly chart. But before we do that, I just want to bring up on the screen to put your ticker requests in the comments down below. We've had a few already, but we could always do with a few more. Me and Kate are always looking for new stocks. Likewise, are the viewers as well. So going back to the SPY weekly chart, then not really too much to report because it's not really much different to last week. So we obviously got the last two candles there. That one being last week and that one being the week before. Obviously, we did have a bit of a kind of hammer coming down. You could say it was a bit of a doji a couple of weeks ago, but then this last week we've pushed up a little bit, and then obviously come back down to the bottom of the tower here. But it's still kind of within a range, shall we say? My, I think from a long-term perspective and for long-term investors, I think having that kind of retracement back down to this previous trend line would be key. When that would happen, I'm not too sure. It could happen next week. It could happen in 2 months' time. And then of course making a move towards that 800 mark heading into the end of the year. But I do believe we have midterms that could scupper that as well. So I think just play it week by week at the moment. I wouldn't be adding for long-term portfolios at these high levels personally. It's just not the way I invest. It's not the way I see the market going and how I want my wealth to grow, should we say. But yeah, I've spoken a lot of words on the SPY weekly chart. Have you got anything here to say?
No, I think it's pretty straightforward on this one. It's just I'm gonna wait and watch on the direction on the on the market. It's like I'm not buying SPY, heavy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just whatever position you have, you're just watching it grow and hoping for that gap fill to happen at some point, because that 11% drop or 11.5% drop is where basically you will, at that level of 660 to 672 is where I'll be adding heavily to the.
Yeah, and it's very possible in a market like we are, especially as you mentioned earlier, the new Fed's chair, everything that's going on with the war as well. I mean, if the war does get signed off and closed, whatever, something like that, then do we see a bit of kind of sell the news about? Because we've basically gone straight up with the war not actually ending. You know,
I mean,
it's been a bit strange.
it's it. I don't see how we keep going up throughout the year, right? At some point in time you will have some sort of, like, you will have to give some relief rally, right? Some relief for the market. Now generally the summer months are slower months, so that could lead to 5% pullback, 6%, 7% pullbacks. And the moment you'll see 5% pullback on S&P 500, you'll see on the Twitter fintech influencers will be all over the Twitter. It's like Armageddon is happening, and it's just going to be the same routine. It's the same deal, man. It's like,
But we had that here, didn't we? Everyone was getting really panicky when it just dropped down like it's 10%. But yeah, what's going to happen when it drops down 30, 40%? Because it will happen eventually in the future, I imagine.
I mean, yeah, I mean, 30% drop. I think people's, not people's, all of ours 401ks are gonna get like, it's gonna
Yeah.
be it's gonna be bad this way.
Okay, we'll move on then from the SPY weekly charts. Interesting chart for sure. A hard one to kind of have a look at. Move
Oh,
on to past
lost
performance.
again, man.
Yeah, I've got 3 weeks in a row now, which is fantastic. Actually, both stocks were down, but mine was just less down, which is always good, always good to see. Microsoft down to 0.66%, which is why I've kind of brought it up this week as well within the kind of picks of the week, just because it's kind of in a similar sort of position. But obviously, we'll dive into that in a few minutes. And obviously, service now as well down 7%. It did get a bit of traction at the beginning of the week, but I think it pulled back quite
Yeah,
significantly in the later part of the week, which is a shame for you. Perhaps now in the next couple of years might turn around with all the connections it has.
it's so I think with ServiceNow, I think a lot of folks, they got very excited the moment stock ran from, like, it was like what, 80, it was trading around like $90, and it ran up to 106 or so, and everybody was like,
Mm.
Twitter was like, or X, whatever you want to call it, is they were just up in arms, and it's like, this is the next revolution that's happening and stuff like that. And then when it pulled back, suddenly everybody got so sour on it. So the point with ServiceNow is, it's not, it's the cycle of the software, for any company, any SaaS company, when they are selling the software to enterprise, there is a sales cycle involved, and generally the more complex a software is, which means it takes longer for the software to get implemented, the sales cycle is generally very long. And for most folks who have never used ServiceNow in their life, they don't understand how complicated this software is, because there are different components that get people installed, and these are workflow softwares, and it's very, very labor intensive when you're installing the software, getting up and running. So even, let's say, ServiceNow module is already in a company and they decide to expand, adding a new module or expanding the existing module to a different department, it could be a 6 months to a 1 year project just to get it up and running. So you're not going to see massive,
It's not an
you know.
immediate turnaround, is it?
Exactly. So that's why you need to have a lot of patience, whether you buy it from a common standpoint or you go leap. But again,
Yeah.
leap has to be, you have to give it enough time. SaaS has already been in a downturn for a very long time. So if you had bought the leap at the very beginning, you might be running out of time right now. So you might have to either get out of the position or roll your position. But I think as of right now, how things are looking, 2028 leap January, I think that's the only one that's available for now. Could, again, could be a potential. But again, anytime that you're building leaps, my recommendation is not to have more than 5% of your portfolio in leaps, because leaps can look very exciting, because when you're making money, everything looks exciting.
Yeah.
But because it's still an options, you will lose very quickly. Like a leap could be down 99% in no time.
Yeah. That's the part of the parcel, isn't it? It's the risk you take,
Exactly.
but you take on a little bit of leverage. Okay. So you can get me on X. I was kind of can talk then. X and YouTube. I released a video yesterday around the kind of basics around technical analysis. I understand it's not going to be a video for everyone, but if you are just starting out, you're watching this, or you're just starting your trading journey, as it were, it's definitely a video worth watching. You can find that at Shaun Trades underscore on YouTube. And likewise, I do post fairly regularly, kind of insightful charts, in my opinion, on X as well. Kaye, what have you got going on at the moment? I know your Substack has come back alive.
Yeah, I'm starting to bring the Substack back up and running. We had like 3 articles so far. The next article that I'm currently working on, it will be on Rivian specifically, because this is one of my plays for Rivian, and then it'll be Grab. So those will be two, and I'm pretty sure you'll be interested in the Grab one
Yeah.
specifically. So those are the two that I'm currently working on, and they will be published, in couple of weeks as well. So definitely go ahead and subscribe. It's free. I similarly post on X and YouTube as well with the same handle at InvestCape. Um, Before you jump to the next segment, Sean, I actually am not able to see any comments for some reason today. So if you get any takers, just let me know and I'll add them to the list.
Yeah, no worries. So far, we've only had those three at the beginning, so we haven't had anything else come through just yet.
Okay.
But I will let you know when they come through. We'll move on to the next slide then, which is my pick of the week, and it is Microsoft. Not a huge amount to say on this because I said most of it last week, but obviously for everyone that's kind of wasn't here last week or didn't see the post recording, of course, I'll go through the position that I've got and have taken and hope to kind of profit off it, of course. These levels up here at 479 is basically the gap fill. So what I want to do is kind of move from this volume profile to this volume profile, and that's essentially it in a nutshell. Microsoft being a bit of a lagger behind the rest of the S&P at the moment. So I do think it has a little bit of catching up to do, shall we say. At the moment, my stop loss is still in the same place, just below these most recent lows here at 400. Obviously, we do have the VWAP there coming in nicely from the beginning of the move. So there is a little bit of protection down below. And of course, we do have the previous trend line, which we've been battling against this last week, really. So we could actually come back down to maybe 410. I'd still be completely fine with that. I might even be tempted to add at that point as well, just to obviously be because of the amount of confidence at that level. But obviously, that's yet to be seen. The market conditions would have to be pretty in my favor for me to actually add to this position, in my opinion. But yeah, it's been consolidating these last 4 or 5 days, which I don't hate. I think that's kind of nice. It's not too volatile. Just obviously looking to kind of break these most recent highs of about 430, 432, whatever that is. So yeah, that would be really nice to see. What are your thoughts on this Microsoft position? I know you have a position as well,
Yeah.
don't you?
Yeah, so I think my trend line is slightly different from yours, because I think I've been tracking Microsoft before the breakout happened. So I actually, my trend line touches that little, the fill the gap wick that you have there.
This one?
Actually, no, the before.
Oh, this one.
This one, yeah. So my
Yeah.
trend line goes from there. So that's why I see. So it had a breakout. It did the retest on that trend line multiple times. It stayed on that trend line, but that's not the point. The point is that currently this zone of I would say going from 428 to 393 to 428 is where you just see the volume level, and that's where majority of the volume trading is happening. So the and then also Microsoft is down 200-day, 300-day SMA. So that's generally my uh, I guess the indicator for me personally to get into stocks, specifically good names, good quality names, when they're down 200, 300. And that's the reason why we have a position in Microsoft for at least to fill that gap. And that gap you're looking to fill will be above the 200-day SMA. Now it's going
Yeah,
to
absolutely.
be difficult
Yeah.
to break that, what do you call the break the resistance for 200-day and 300-day. But at the same time, we are starting to see Microsoft starting to circulate the name because it's lagging among the all the big names in the Mag 7. Mag 7 plus are the big names. So where will the money rotate back into? You only have few names left. You have Meta and you have Microsoft from a tech standpoint. And end of the day, Microsoft is still the beast.
They do have Tesla
I don't
to a
like their
certain extent as
Microsoft
well.
products. Doesn't mean they're still a beast. Go ahead,
Yeah.
sorry.
As I say, you do have Tesla as well to a certain extent. Maybe you can bring that up a bit later on because the Tesla chart looks interesting.
I'll put it.
Yeah, okay. That's my pick of the week then. That's Microsoft. Still waiting for the move as we were last week. So we'll see how it performed this week. Moving on to Kaye's pick of the week, which is IREN. So this is the first time you brought this one up, Kaye, or is it, you've had it a
No,
few times now?
no. This we have brought it a few times, and I think we got a comment on the what do you call on I think on the Twitter, and somebody said that the both the co-CEOs and both the co-CEOs sold 33.1 million
Oh,
in
yeah.
September last year. Anyways, so I'm not sure. I think a lot of folks maybe are thinking that you're gonna. I'm not buying this to hold it forever and expect it to swing. That's not the play I hear. The play here is very simple. The play here is I sell options, and I look for stocks that are in a zone or which are trading sideways. This is a stock that is trading sideways. If you look a little bit longer term, and there is this upper and lower range. And even if you don't know how to, if you can look at the Bollinger Band, which is very simple. So the lower band is 41, the upper band is 63. And stock is right at the 55, 56 level. So when we sell options, we sell at 30 delta at the menu, 20 delta, 15 delta, whichever style you want to sell options on. So anyways, coming back here, we saw this little nice dip on the, like, what I think it was a Wednesday, like stock dipped around the 45, 46. So what is happening is there's a lot of buying pressure at these levels. Like the stock is going down to 45, 46, and then the buyers are stepping in. The stock is coming around 56, 57, and the sellers are stepping in. So this provides an optimal opportunity for you to sell options, specifically weekly options. Now you don't want to go too far out, because when you go too far out for stocks like these specifically, you could have a covered call. The stock could really run up, and you might end up capping your upside expense. But anyway, so coming back, I think on a weekly option selling specific, I'll call it out, weekly option selling. This is one of the stocks that I generally sell options on. And the way I'm looking at for this week would be trading similar, like around the 52, 53, which it will be the 28, 20, 28, 33 delta. That is the sweet spot for me to sell options on. And I'm collecting a very decent premium of about 124 to 155 per stock. So that's basically the trade here on this. Because I thought instead of me bringing a swing trade, I think a selling option trade for people who sell options could be a good one.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people will take a lot of value from that. Maybe a few more in the future could probably come up like that because I could learn a few things as well. But yeah, from a kind of chart perspective, you've got higher highs and higher lows there, relatively since the end of March. But what I wanted to point out is the amount of volatility in the stock. So you've got the lower point here just before
Crazy.
April, which is 33, and the higher point in this box that you've got here is 66. It's 100%. So that's crazy how much this moves. And do you think that volatility plays definitely into your hands with the selling of the options? Is that what you
Absolutely.
would
I
say?
mean,
Yeah.
you don't want to sell options on stocks that have no volatility, right? How
Yeah.
would you get premium if you have no volatility on the stock? So the only way for option sellers to make some premium, because you are taking a risk by getting the premium, so either you're capping your upside potential or you're buying a stock that could fall much below your strike. So that's why IV is very important for selling options. Now, generally, a lot of folks, when they start selling options, they also want to look at stocks which are, affordable. So because if you sell one put, you need to have what, $56,000, sorry, $5,600, or in this case $5,683 to buy the stock, right?
Mm,
Uh, I can tell you, hey, you can sell options on Meta. Meta's going to cost you $60,000. So
yeah.
that's
So
why a lot of people, they look for stocks that are below $50, below $100, below $150, depending on their size of the portfolio. So this is one of the good stocks, at least for the time being. No stock remains good forever for selling anything. Things change. Like there was a craze when MSTR, people were like making two, three, $4,000 premium in a week on MSTR when Bitcoin was going crazy.
yeah, mad, crazy, isn't it?
Every single person was on the option selling, side of the shop was talking about MSTR. I never actually sold any on MSTR. I missed a lot of premium on that side.
I think one last thing I want to point to in this chart, which I think is quite interesting. I need to look at the kind of broader chart, I think,
Yeah.
at some point. But you've got a bit of a cup and handle here. So this is your cup base coming through. Obviously, we came back up to the similar highs of end of January of this year. So that's your cup, and then we kind of come back down in the last few weeks or so, and then maybe making a move back up to kind of 62, 66 to complete the handle part of that particular pattern. In which case, we'd be looking for a breakout of 66. Come back down and retest it potentially, and then obviously making a move towards that 100 mark. But again, I don't really know what the pattern is left side of the screen. So I have to do a bit of digging into that a bit later on, which I'll definitely do. Okay, so that's your pick of the week. That's IREN. It's a very interesting one, actually. I think it's a lot of viewers will take a lot of value from that. I had Microsoft, so we'll see how they'll do in the next week or so. But for now, we're going to move on to the audience requests. Make sure you stick in your ticker requests in the comments. We haven't had a few today. Maybe everyone's kind of enjoying the weather. Well, I say that. It's raining there, isn't it? You said.
Yeah, it's raining here in the New Jersey side.
Yeah. In the UK, it's boiling hot. You can probably see that I'm physically sweating. But hey, we can't complain. Good weather is good weather. Okay, let me write down.
Take it. You guys don't get that good weather that often.
No. So we need to lap it up as much as we can and not complain about it. But we're very famous for complaining about whatever the weather is. But yeah, okay, we'll move on to the charts then. Let's have a look. Let's get it ready and sorted. What's the first one up for us
I think
today,
the
Kaye?
first one was SoFi, I believe. That's what you told me. So we have SoFi, Snow, and Net, and then we'll add Tesla.
So far, it's an interesting one. I've just added, I say added, I think it was a couple of weeks ago now, but I added a leap option for SoFi.
How about Robinhood? I think if we are looking at SoFi, let's also look at Hood. I'll add that since we don't have that many guest requests. We'll add some requests on our side.
Yeah, I can't remember what I did now. Do you want to talk to the chart while I have a look at what my leap call was?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think right now we are seeing lower highs. Like we did have this decline, and interestingly, after the latest decline, the stock has been respecting and staying below their 20 and 50 SMA. So that continues to act as a resistance. But what we are seeing is that there is a base forming at these levels between 1650 and 1530 to 1650. That's where a lot of trading is happening, and seems like a lot of trading volume is building. Is that a gap that your shows on your chart? Was it so
No, it's just an area of interest for me,
okay? Area of
which
interest.
is why I've added. So as we go back to the weekly chart, if you zoom out, it's just an area of interest that I've got
And the
drawn on the
reason
chart.
that this base is, and the reason why we are seeing this base is because this used to be the previous highs going back to 2024. So
Yeah, similar sort of area. Yeah.
yeah, so this is the reason why we are seeing a lot of trading volume at these levels, and a lot of folks probably are jumping into SoFi and buying the stock back. But again, this stock is also below its 300-day, below its 200-day SMA, but they have been below it for a while. And I think most of the banking stocks, I don't follow them all, but I think both Robinhood and SoFi um, have been suffering lately. Let's put it this way.
Yeah, I think there's a few other names to pay attention on, isn't it? Like quantum stocks took a bit of a move, data center stocks, that kind of thing. And anything to do with semiconductors seems to have taken the stage. So maybe it's just a case of they're a bit more appealing at this particular stage in the markets anyway. I've got a zone here, well, I say a zone, a gap fill of 1830. That would be my first target for sure, which is good because that's a good almost 15-20%, I believe, top of my head. But it just needs to hold this base and make a move off it at some point. I think my stop loss is somewhere around 14, I think, something like 13.50. I don't really know. Look into that a bit later on. But yeah, no, that's the position. So far, I think there's definitely potential there. We spoke about this, I think it was about 3 or 4 months ago, somewhere up here, I imagine. And you weren't interested in it at all. I was, naturally, because I'm a bit more, hopeful, I guess, in some senses. But you wanted it to come back down to 15, and here we are, back down to 15. So just a testament to obviously having that kind of outlook of I wanted to get back down to this level, whatever it takes, and all of a sudden here we are. Anyway, let's move on from SoFi then. It's an interesting one.
Next is snow. And I know you have been in snow, so you have a lot to talk about that.
Yeah, so I was in a position up until Friday, but I just didn't want to take it through the weekend, so you just don't know what's going to happen.
And they report
This
earning next week.
Exactly. So, and that we spoke about that last week. I said if we get the move up towards 200 within that time, then obviously one, I'd be very, very happy. And two, I'll just take it off the table. So what I've done really is kind of, it might be a bit of nervousness trading, especially with these levels of where we are and what's happening in the world. I think that's completely fine. Human emotions play a lot of part in trading. So you can't actually see the chart. Human emotions do play a lot in trading, of course, and everyone gets hit by it a bit differently. But at the end of the day, I've made profit. I've made a good return on this particular trade. It doesn't look huge in percentage wise, but of course it doesn't matter. The trade is there. I've taken profits. We move on to the next one. But yeah, if it does come to 200 after earnings, then of course that's just how trading is. Just take it on the chin, reassess the stock, and maybe get into it for another trade in the future. But yeah, for now, happy now with the money that's been taken, and move on to the next trade. Do you want to talk to the chart a little bit more, Kaye? Do you see
Yeah,
anything
yeah.
happening here?
So from an earnings standpoint, which is coming up, because you will only get Tuesday. If you want to really play the earnings, you'll get Tuesday and you'll get
Exactly.
Wednesday,
Yeah.
right? So you don't have Monday, unfortunately. So the options market overestimates snowflakes earning 42% of the times, right? So that's important statistics to know, which means that 60% plus time they get it right. And then on an average, the move is 12.6% plus or minus. So you are looking from current price level, you're looking about $21, $22. That's the range that you can see stock moving up or down. Now, interestingly, if we do see, we have the 300-day and the 200-day SMA right on top of closer to that 20 mark, $22 mark. So if we see the narrative shift, again, it's all about the narrative shift on the SaaS. It's really not about beating the top line, beating the bottom line, and doing a mediocre guidance. Unless the narrative changes, you are not going to see the breakout on the 200-day and 300-day SMA. But if that happens, man, then you can start to see the stock really going back into the 200 and 250 range. But that is going to be the key here for the earnings. And if Snowflake does it, you will see a similar trend in all the other names, because what that indicates is that the money is slowly starting to rotate from those names. Now, I don't know if that's going to happen this time, or is it going to happen the next earning season or the following earning season, but it's going to happen. We just don't know the timing.
Exactly, and just for reference, Kaye mentioned the 200 moving average. That's this line coming in through the top. I just added it onto the screen there for you. And also the 50 just down below, so we've broken through that nicely. But yeah, earnings will tell a bigger picture story, and we'll have to play the positions from that point onwards. Okay,
And
we'll move on then.
I'll give you one trade idea if you really want to play this. You can play using Iron Condor. Iron Condor works very well with Snowflake. I think I have had a success rate of, I think I have done it like 5 times, and probably like 3 out of 5 times I have been successful on Iron Condor on this. So that's a
There you
pretty
go.
win rate.
Something to consider for people, that's for sure. Okay, we'll move on then.
Okay, next one is Net. Oh, we got a couple other names actually, so I'm gonna put
Oh
them.
yeah, I forget you can't see them. Yeah.
Yeah, now I'm seeing it.
Okay, good. Yeah, Net, Cloudflare. It's been an interesting ride. You can see my wonderful arrow on the screen there, perfectly drawn. Big green one. That was a point that I wanted to add. I didn't add. I say add. Start a position. Didn't start a position. It came back down to that position there. Didn't start it. Then it did it again, and then I still didn't start a position. So I was going to get rid of these dots because they seem to not be working. Yeah. So are we going to be? Well, it's really choppy actually in the last 5 months. That's probably why I haven't gone in. But from the company perspective, are they doing well? Okay.
Yeah, they are doing very well, honestly. I think their earnings, they have been beating from, like, I don't know how many earnings they have beaten so far. It's always it's always a beat on the earnings. So that's not the problem. I think the issue generally right now lies in the entire group of stocks. And I think Cloudflare or any of these, whether you're looking at CrowdStrike, Palo Alto, Cloudflare, they are all like, they do different things, but they are still in the same cybersecurity bucket. Because when you say cybersecurity, people just throw these names out. They are doing a lot of things very differently if you actually start to dig in. So it's not the same area. They are all targeting the same area. So they all have different plays. But I think at this point of time is generally the whole cybersecurity sector, along with SaaS, has been hit. But at some point in time, it will be one of those sectors where people will start to see, oh, we should be buying this.
Yeah, we do have a bit of a bull flag here, which is interesting to see. This is the weekly chart I've switched to. Nice price action coming from March of 25 all the way up to this point here, which is October of last year as well. So a really good year last year. Well, not really, but good recovery in last year. Seems to be creating this kind of parallel channel I've got drawn on the screen here. So we can break out of that, which we did try to a few weeks ago. If we can try and break through that, then go back up to all-time highs around 260, that is ish thereabouts. Stick that on the screen there. So that'd be interesting to see if we can get above that. That'd be really exciting, I think, for investors for sure. I'm getting a little bit of lag here. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, no problem.
Okay, good. As long as people can hear me, that's okay. The chart doesn't seem to be as smooth as normal. But yeah, no, I struggle to think where I could possibly get in for a trade.
So I think one of the reasons I think we saw this big dump on the stock price, and I'm started looking into what's exactly is happening. I don't track the stock. So on May 21st, which is last week, the CEO sold roughly 32.6 million Class A shares over the period of 19 to 21. I think that's why we are probably seeing this big decline in the stock price. So because that generally shows
interesting,
the bearish nature, like why is the CEO selling out this heavily? But again, if you see this nice little bounce on this trend line, though.
Yeah, the recovery has been interesting. One to watch for sure. I think it's probably a bit too erratic for me personally, but I'll keep it on the watch list.
But the interesting part
Why
about
not?
this whole situation is most of the times stock prices, they just revert to the mean. So if you actually so I'm looking at the Bollinger Band, because every time you have to look at different indicators. So on the Bollinger Band, the stock was already trading at the upper end of the band, and when this news came out, it just pulled back to the mean.
This is how it works, isn't it? Bollinger Bands, they act as like a rubber band, essentially.
Exactly.
They contract and they expand. I don't use them too often. Maybe
I don't use it
start
often as well.
chance.
But what I sometimes do is when I'm not able to understand what's happening, I just pull it up. Especially for if you really want to sell options, Bollinger Band does help you to give a very high level idea on what exactly is happening. And you don't want to sell options, specifically selling options, when the stock is trading at the upper end of the Bollinger Band.
Yeah, and you can see that on the
Yeah.
screen. The Bollinger Bands are there. Obviously, the colouring is not perfect, but you can see the kind of concept Kaye is talking about. Price action comes to the top of the band, and it comes back down to the middle. Same again here, and actually same again on the left side. So people use it a lot in day trading as well. I find it a bit too volatile for me, or at least I can't trade on it personally. But yeah, okay, we'll move on then to
Next is next is
sorry.
ONDs, which I know you are.
So I've actually got Tesla,
Oh, you
SMCI,
want to take that? Yeah,
and
you take that.
USAR
Take that.
next. Yeah, it's just that it came up in order. So we'll do it to order. Tesla I wanted to bring up today anyway, just because of the kind of recovery. I can't speak today. Recovery with a W.
Too much soccer.
Since
Too much soccer.
it's too much sun. I'm boiling. I'm absolutely boiling. Okay, yeah. So we've got the average weighted, average volume weighted price, whatever we call it, VWAP. Should have just said that. And we come back down to kind of retest that level, and we kind of pushed back off of it. What I really want to see from Tesla now is a good couple of days, push towards that kind of 450 level again, and then break out from there. It's going to be a bit of a tough ask, but it is showing some strength here. We've got some higher lows and higher highs, obviously, within this kind of move. What are your thoughts on Tesla at the moment? Obviously, I don't know, maybe you have mixed feelings about
Actively
Tesla.
trading Tesla. I just don't talk about Tesla that much, but I do trade it actively. And I'm noticing is we had this when we had this decline, we had a nice bounce of the 20 SMA, and then basically it held the 200 SMA as well. So it seems like that area of 400, also psychologically 400 is important for Tesla to maintain, because it has been below the 400 for a decent amount of time. So as long as the 400 doesn't break, I don't think the trend is broken. We may see Tesla is a volatile stock. From the large big names perspective, Tesla is one of the most volatile stocks. But I think as long as the 400 level is maintained, psychological level, I think we will continue to move slowly up, because if you notice, even from the last year to this year, there is less negativity on Tesla. It's not like Tesla is performing or doing anything great, but the noise or the negativity has died down, because
Yeah,
guess
I
what?
think
Elon Musk stepped away from all the drama.
the attention has been diverted slightly, isn't it? Especially with the SpaceX potentially IPOing very shortly as well.
I
So
think
that's got to be the
I
main
think
focus
that
for
could
Elon
be
Musk.
one of the triggers for Tesla stock to actually also run.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be
exactly.
surprised.
Okay, interesting work for Tesla. Just to add on the screen now, I added the 200 moving average as Kaye spoke about, so I might just leave them on the screen for now. We'll move on then to SMCI.
Keep in mind, you use EMA, I use SMA. There's a difference.
I've moved back to SMAs
Oh,
now.
you moved
So
to
volume
SMA?
averages
Okay.
there. Just I don't really use them too often, but I thought I'd just switch it back to yours for these streams. SMCI, okay.
Yeah,
This is
this
another
one
one
is
of your stocks, really. So
yeah,
take it
this
away.
one is very interesting because I didn't even realize it started to have this run. The interesting part is we have the 200-day coming over, so that would act as a resistance. We have been below the 200 SMA since November of 2025, so it's going to take some effort. And I think there was a recent interview, and Jensen Huang did talk about SMCI, and I think there's some sort of a SMCI event is coming up. A lot of folks are actually hoping that we can get some sort of a move here on SMCI, because this has been lagging for a while. But also keep in mind, we do have this little gap at what, 28, 29.
Yeah, that's the line I've got just above your head there.
Yeah. So, if we get a rejection, we might see that gap fill happening again. But it's going to take a while. It's going to take some sort of a news, some sort of a catalyst for it to break. It's not
I
going to
think
be.
if we did get a rejection off of that 200 and come back down to this level and feel that gap, I think that could be a very interesting point, even for me. I don't really trade SMCI too much, but the obviously got the 50 moving average there. You've got the gap fill. There's a bit of volume here, but not too much. I guess if you zoom out, there might be a bit more. But yeah, definitely worth looking into at least. Would you
I think
suggest? Not
the
suggest,
big
but do you have a look at leaps for this?
for SMCI, no, I have synthetics on. There's not leaps. But the issue with SMCI has been tarred, or it has been tagged with so many controversies in the last 2 years. Accounting fraud. You're hearing the CEO is smuggling chips to China. They're not doing it, but hey, the news is news, right? So the problem is the stock is dealing, forget about the performance of the stock and the fundamentals and technicals. You're dealing with all these sorts of news which generally should not be happening with companies. If you're a publicly listed company, these are the things you should not be doing. So that's the problem. And even Jensen Huang, I have not heard it. I just saw it on X that Jensen Huang did mention that hopefully we can get better compliance from SMCI. So I don't know, how should I take it. Should I take it positively, negatively? I don't know. But um I don't know, man. This is the reason why SMCI has been in this doldrum of 30, 20, $30.
Yeah, well, it'll be interesting to see what happens going forward. We'll move on to the next one then. We've got USAR.
What is that? I've never heard of that.
It is USA Rare Earth. So I'm guessing it's some sort of
Mm.
commodities or something like that. But it seems to be respecting the 200 moving average and the 50 moving average quite nicely in the last year. Maybe a bit more than that. Yeah, I don't know what they do.
They are let me see. Let me read their here. Let me see. I mean, rare earths. So they basically engage in mining, processing, and supplying rare earths and other critical minerals in the US, Europe, and Asia. So they explore neodymium, dysprosium, terbium, so on, gallium, lot of stones, I guess, lot of minerals. The stock is, I mean, from a fundamental standpoint, this is not going to be a fundamental stock. This is going to be a momentum stock that you're going to drive with this news. Because the net income, they're still losing money. They have improved though. They, like 2 quarters back, they lost 156 million, and now they're back to losing 66 million. So that's an improvement. Free cash flow is still a problem, right? They don't have free cash flow.
I don't think I'll be looking at the stock, to be honest. It doesn't really interest me too much.
But they do have a lot of cash on hand. That's a very interesting. They have about $1.75 billion cash on hand. That's very interesting. It's not a name for faint hearts. Let's put it this way.
Okay, we'll move on then to MP.
That's also a lot. Like a lot of folks are talking about MP now.
Just recovered the 200 moving average ish. Floating around that sort
Do
of
you
area
trade
for the
these?
last 6
Do you
months.
trade these names often, Shaun?
No, never. No, pretty much. That's a daily chart. Switch to the weekly chart. Oh, we do have a nice bit of support here on the weekly chart with the 50 moving average. Bounce off of that nicely. Perhaps, again, we have a similar sort of setup as whatever stock it was earlier, but we have a bit of a bull flag. Oops. I'm getting a lot of lag on my end. But yeah, we've got a bit of a bull flag there. So if we could break out this sort of range, I think that would be quite interesting for investors. Well, I don't know if I would enter on this though. I think perhaps if we had a bit of a push out of the parallel channels, we could see come back down, retest this area of the volume, and obviously previous resistance as well. Going back to these bits here, so if we can retest that area, then make a move higher. I think that would be quite nice for the move overall. So yeah, I think it's going to be one of those I stick on my watch list. Let me just stick that down. What are your thoughts on MP materials?
Yeah, I think it's right on the middle of the Bollinger Band, so it's again reverted to this mean. It held nicely at the 20 no, it's a 50 SMA, held nicely there, and now we are above the 20 SMA as well. So I think if I want to really trade this one or swing it from a day trading, again depends on if how you want to trade it, right? If you're doing a day trading, I would basically be targeting for the 69 level, and I'll put my stop loss right around this level of 61, 62. That's how I would enter. I don't do day trading that much, that's why. But I mean, so far it's holding it very well. The 300-day SMA is slowly creeping up, and it's respecting the 300-day SMA. And so far, I mean, all the averages are being respected decently. I'm not saying it's perfect; it's decently being respected. Um, from option selling standpoint, I don't like it because I mean they have volatility, but not as much open interest or even contract. So yeah, so I'm definitely not going to be looking at selling options on this.
No. Okay, maybe just a share stock then.
Yeah, if I want to do it, I would do with commons. Or I mean leaps you could probably do, but I generally only sell leaps on quality names.
Yeah. Okay, we'll move on to Meta. We'll start wrapping up the stream a bit because I'm losing power. I think starting
Meta
to
is
lag a bit. I think it might be the laptop. I think it's because it's hot. Doesn't
man,
like it.
Meta is like UK is like what's going on in UK?
It's on fire. Yeah, well, not literally, but well, hopefully not. Anyway, so Meta is an interesting one. I am actually in a trade at the moment. God knows why, but we can see I try to move on the volume profile. You can see that I don't really trade with moving averages, otherwise I may not have taken that trade, so I don't really trade those, but you can see my thesis there. It's in a range. I wanted to push out the range with the volume profile. Hasn't done it just yet. Still in the trade. Obviously, the stop loss hasn't been triggered just yet. So there's still a potential move back up to the gap fill up here. Are you in Meta at all?
Yeah. So Meta basically is also one of the stocks that we sell options on a regular basis, and the reason is very simple. Meta, Tesla, Nvidia, these names they have expiration on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So you basically have three expirations within the week. So you basically are looking at almost, if not called daily, but it's basically a daily expiration. You're looking at almost with
Yeah, yeah,
stocks. Interestingly, there is a gap right below it, and you have the 20 and the 50 SMA right smack coming on top of this entire line. So, and then also we have this long trend line from the top that is still stopping our friends to actually have that breakout. So Meta is a very interesting spot here, I would say.
yeah. It's make or break, isn't it? In the next couple of weeks
Question is,
for Meta
which
stock.
side is it going to break? Is it going to fill the gap at the bottom, or is it going to fill the gap at the top?
Yeah, well, there's two gaps at the bottom, isn't there? We've got this one down here, and this one as
I
well.
don't want to think about that gap. That's $500 gap.
Yeah,
You'll be down
$500.
Yeah. So the second gap is at 509 going to 518.
Oh, okay. You're talking about one that's all the way back here.
Yeah, I don't
I'm
want to
talking
look.
about these two here.
Yeah. I don't want to look at that gap. It's like
Yeah, don't look at that one. Yeah, interesting to see where Meta will go in the next couple of weeks. Then we're looking forward to how that position matures for both of us, actually. So, if you're looking to see how those trades go, obviously make sure you come back week after week. We'll be here for the time being. Okay, let's move on to ONDS then. ONDAS, one of those stocks that I
you were
really,
trading on ONDS, right?
yeah, I do. I don't mind it. I have had it in the portfolio a couple of times. For obviously
They're
like
the
to try
drone.
and free up cash.
They're the drone company, right?
Yes, the drone company is kind of more focused towards kind of defense essentially. So they've been quite popular throughout this whole period of everything that's going on, of course. But we do have a bit of a technical interest here as well. So we've got a trend line that's been respected in the last a couple of months or so. Just needs to find a bit of strength here, but I've got a feeling this may actually break down, just because of the amount of touches. You keep knocking down at the door's going to eventually knock down, in my opinion. Likewise, of course, if we get a bit of a false breakout, we could come back down, break it, and then we get a push back up because of the excitement around the name, particularly. But I still want the $20 zone to be hit at some point in the next year or so. So there's definitely, I don't know, there's definitely interest in this name, but it's just not for me at the point, personally.
So just a couple points from my side that I see it it has nicely respected the bottom end of the Bollinger Band, which is 828. It has bounced off of it many times. It hasn't broken down. It is still respecting the 200-day SMA, so that's a good sign. But again, it's also under its 50 SMA, and the 50 and the mean band for the is also. But the good news is that the point of support is around the 1028. So we will continue to see a lot of trading happening at that level. So you could continue to see buyers stepping in, but it has a very solid the volume profile, man. It's like there's just a lot these different levels. Whether you're drawing a simple, resistance and support, there's just a lot of buying pressure, a lot of volume at these levels. So you could
Yeah.
day trade this. In a week you can have 2 3 trades on this one.
So this is a clear demand zone, isn't it? Really. So this is where this move started back in January, where it went from about $8 ish all the way up to kind of 14. So it's a big move. That's almost what's about 80-90%, something like that. That's where the move started. Of course, this has then created a demand zone, which come back down into it. It hasn't quite made a push out, towards new highs. Come back down again, come back down again, and now it's come back down again. So that's why I fear that if it does break down lower, it's going to be quite
Is there a price
intense.
at which you will be interested if it breaks down?
Yeah, I mean, somewhere down to these lows here. So you obviously, again, what's going on? This is the beginning of the move here down to $5. And of course, we came back down to get the areas. That's another area of demand. It's not the most solid area of demand, but it is an area of demand. So yeah, $5 would be interesting. But of course, that's a long way down. If we are just going to break $8, that has to come down another, $3. Which is definitely possible for these stocks, especially if we get a bit of a downturn in the markets, of course. It tends to kind of pull down a lot of stocks within the market. So, yeah, I mean, who knows? I don't really mind starting a position here, to be honest, because what you can do is you've got support there with the demand zone, you've got the trend line, and you've also got the 200 moving average, as Kaye mentioned. Nice tight stop loss. You've got a clear target price of $20. If you want to be a bit more conservative, you could take it down to 18. You've got risk of just over 8 to 1, which I think is very, very fair. Your risk to reward is, it's very much in your favor. So you can just, if you're prepared to lose this much in a very short amount of time, then go for it. I actually might look at that potentially, but I've got other positions I want to concentrate on at the moment. So it's going to be a background one for me, if it is at all. So, yeah, okay.
Interesting.
So we're not one then.
Um,
Okay, we'll finish with APLD, whatever that is.
yeah, because we
Applied
already covered
Digital.
Microsoft and IREN before, so you can go watch
Yeah,
the.
I'll touch that just quickly now. So
Is it
growth
applied
gains.
materials? Yeah, it is applied digital,
Yeah.
not materials. It's applied digital.
Before we jump into that, obviously, growth gains, we did cover Microsoft and IREN earlier, which I'm pretty sure you're aware of, given the title of the stream. So yeah, we have to go back to kind of maybe 15, 20 minutes into the stream, and you'll get both of those breakdowns there and then. Okay, APLD to finish off the stream then.
Do you know what they do? They design, develop, operate digital infrastructure solutions to high performance computing. So I think same to deal with AI infrastructure play.
Classic. That's where we are now, Kaye, isn't it?
Yeah, no, I mean right now the money is basically in this infrastructure play, and I think most of these names are benefiting, including IREN or whether you look at Nebius or even CoreWeave. I think among the three names, CoreWeave, Nebius, and IREN, I think Nebius has been the most well performing stock compared to the other two.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I see that stock up. Every time I look at it, it's up like 7 or 8%.
I think it's over $200 now, I think.
Wow, that's incredible.
Mhm.
Technical analysis point of view, I think it's quite clear, at least in my opinion. I don't know what your thoughts are, Kay, but coming back down to this $40 level, I think would be really interesting. One, you've got a gap fill here. One, you've got lots of volume here, and also its previous resistance back in October of last year and February of this year. Actually, around January, February, a few times. So yeah, there's lots of support at this level. If we can come back down to 40, and that would also create another higher low. So we've got. Let me get out the highlighter. low set here, low set here, low set here, and a low set here. If we did come back down and find support there, it'd be another higher low. So that'd be really interesting to see. I'm actually going to write this one down because that looks really appealing to me.
Yeah,
Does
I
it look
agree.
appealing to you as well, Kay?
Yeah, no, it definitely is, and I agree with you. I think the $40 level is what I'll be interested in, because there is this is a very recent gap. It's not like the gap has been created for a while. So this is a recent gap, but the problem is we are also a little bit overextended. We are not oversold, but we are getting to the extended territory. We are at the upper end of the bands. Uh, Even if you're looking at the volume profile, let's put this volume profile here. Yeah, so 35. So right now there is actually not much trading happening at that level of 40. So if we do see a pullback, we could come 35, $40. That's also where a lot of previous highs were.
It would definitely have to hold 35.75. That's the most
Yeah.
recent low. If you don't hold that, then it's starting to change the trend a bit, in my opinion.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, so I think $40 is a good, point where that will fill the gap. It is the previous highs, so that should act as a support. That is the also the middle mean of the Bollinger Band. That is also your 20 SMA. That is also your 20 SMA. So a lot of those different indicators they start to come
Yeah.
align at
It's a,
those $40 levels. So that would be, if you're not into it, I would look at that level first before jumping in. And if you're already in there, I'm pretty sure you are.
yeah, it's definitely a point of interest for sure. Okay, then that wraps up the audience request section of the stream. Yeah, it's been a fun one. It's been an interesting one. It's been a hot one for me personally. I had a bit of a laggy points as well, but it's been fun. It's been good. I've written down a few stocks. I'm looking forward to heading to the new week. Of course, it's going to be a short week. We have a day off tomorrow. I think it's Memorial Day. Is it over there? Kay, is that right?
Yeah.
We don't have that over here, or at least not I know of. But yeah, day off tomorrow, so make sure you spend the time with the families, looking over trades, doing whatever you need to do. Just take the time to yourself and prepare for the week ahead if you're looking to be an active trader. I will be personally, so I'm going to be taking a few steps towards success, shall we say, in the cheesiest way possible for the week ahead. But yeah, thank you very much for Wolf Electric's platform. We really, really appreciate it. We couldn't do it without you. All the viewers that tuned in today, whether you be on YouTube or X, we do really appreciate what you bring to the table, all the comments, all the ticker requests, and of course everything else you have to offer as well in the post recordings. Okay, send us out to the week ahead.
Well, I wish everybody a happy Memorial Day, whoever are celebrating in the US and abroad as well. So that's that. And then look forward to the short week of trading. And especially, I'm very excited about all the SaaS names reporting earnings. So that'll be interesting.
For sure. Okay, cool. Enjoy your week, Kay, and take care, everyone. We'll see you next week at 1 p.m. normal time
Normal time.
for the next session. Okay. See you later, everyone. Bye-bye.
Take care.